A U.S. law enforcement official says HSBC is still under investigation for tax evasion and has been for several years. This after recently leaked documents claim HSBC's Swiss subsidiary helped clients avoid paying taxes to authorities worldwide. The documents reportedly detail $100 billion of more than 100,000 clients in more than 200 countries.
Every time you step to the bank window, if indeed people even really do that anymore, you expect your bank to protect your cash and use it as an investment tool in a manner that will bring you a few extra shekels and not be tainted with things like cocaine dust, dirt from bullet casings, or the leftovers from celebrities seeking to dodge their tax duties. What's happening to a certain bank at the moment should raise eyebrows not only in the United Kingdom but around the world. So let's welcome back to MidPoint the senior economic consultant for Euro-Pacific Capital, John Browne, joins us once again in studio. John, pleasure to see you.
Pleasure to see you too and be here, Ed.
HSBC. All right, what is the big deal? Okay, so we've got a bank that maybe misused a few dollars here and there. You know I'm only kidding, of course. So how does this impact not just what's happening in the United Kingdom, but how should we then at America be looking at this when it comes to how banks do business?
Well, banks should be doing honest business, and the Hong Kong Shanghai Banking Corporation, under the great Willie Purvis, ran a very prudent, honest bank, which was hugely successful and became one of the, if not the largest bank in the world. But then we had a period of the so-called banksters who decided to be very greedy and therefore recklessly imprudent, gambling with their depositors' money and their shareholders' money, and ran into huge problems. They not only made imprudent loans, but they started to get into other financial businesses, like commercial banks wanted to be in the investment banking business, in the mortgage business, in the insurance business. Businesses that they didn't fully understand. A man that had gone right through a bank from, say, 25 years, 30 years in the bank and became an executive, he didn't really understand investment banking or mortgage banking and commodities banking and things like that. They understood a certain thing, and so there was room for dishonest people to start doing dishonest things without being recognized at the top.
Did the rules, the regulations themselves help people find a little way to cheat and get a little nibble here and there? Because sometimes when the rules are a little lax, that opens the avenues for people to find these ways to get a little extra dollar.
Well, I think the more rules you have really reflects a more dishonest business or whatever it is, an association. An honest organization requires very few rules. And I think if you have basically greedy people who are prepared to push the envelope and be just slightly dishonest at the top, it becomes increasingly dishonest the lower down the chain you go. And then you get a sort of core ethic of dishonesty and greed. And that is why they were called banksters. They got into businesses they didn't fully understand and started to cheat. And that's why they were called banksters, and the taxpayer was made to fund them.
We've seen this now at HSBC, these banksters here that you talk about that are doing the shady deals here, getting things done. But is this just, and I hate to use the cliche again, but that tip of the iceberg where you look at one bank like HSBC that's doing this sort of business, that it's not just them. It's every bank. It's more bigger banking operations, even down to the little guy.
Well, I don't know. I really don't know. It's an allegation at the moment, and I don't know
Would you assume, though, that people are getting away with things still?
Well, I think the big change in integrity in the city and on Wall Street happened when you moved from partners of banks and investment banks to managers and corporations. The partners were risking their own money along with their clients and customers. Managers are really out to make the maximum profit on the spot in the short time zone, so they get huge bonuses, and then they're out by the time the loan goes bad or the securities proved a non-investment grade security and so on. They're gone. And so it encouraged greed and dishonesty, I believe, in the days when you had corporations rather than partnerships. And we haven't looked back since then. It's gotten from bad to worse. And now, I mean, the world is, you know, we said we'd get rid of the big banks. The banks are bigger than ever. The big banks are bigger than ever. And they're still in all these different businesses. We were assured in 2008 that we would get them out of being in all these businesses they didn't fully understand, and that we would reduce the size of the banks. Nothing's happened.
But
not one of them went to jail.
That's exactly the pointer. I mean, here's a great article that I picked up the other day that talked about, and this is from the Daily Beast, and the headline says, if HSBC were a person, it'd be in jail. Okay, so we have all this. The U.S. Justice Department completely shocked. And I said, ooh, shocked that things like this have happened. This has been going on for decades. This is a generational thing. Why can we not stop it? Or is it simply just an animal that is so out of control at this point? The banks are so big, you can pass all the rules and regulations you want, but guess what? They're still going to do business. They're still going to do the dirty handings no matter what you do.
Well, I don't think it's gone on forever. As I said, I think in the days of partnerships,
to many people.
In the days of partnerships, I don't think it was. In the days of managers, it's expanded greatly. And of course, particularly in the United States, Wall Street pays both parties of politicians. So there's less and less oversight. I mean, these scandals where billions and hundreds of billions went missing in a world of paper, and not a single executive of any consequence went to jail.
But does anybody have the guts to prosecute these people and the ability to prosecute them, or is it simply that just like any other criminal, they're always a step ahead of the guys looking for them?
Well, guts and ability are two different things.
Yes, they are.
And I think by being funded by the financiers, the politicians lack both. They have the ability, but they certainly don't have the guts.
What does this tell then an American investor? This is happening from HSBC. This started was a French whistleblower who started this, the Swiss branch of HSBC. A lot of it's overseas. But what does it tell the American investor right now, the banker, the person going to their bank? Here's a major bank doing business with terrorists, with drug dealers, helping celebrities get off on their tax deals. What should they take from this, knowing that it could be their bank is next?
Well, it's not the industry that it was, particularly at the big end, the very big financial institutions. I think at the more private end, the smaller banks, the regional banks, there's a lot of integrity, and still people are close to their customers and things like that. They're not so greedy. They're doing conventional commercial banking. And I think in those smaller banks where you trust and trust the executives and the bank directors, there's in a way more safety. But even if the big banks go wrong, the Fed and the Bank of England are there to rescue them. And the politicians are there to protect the banksters because they never go to jail.
Stop rescuing and stop protecting then?
I think so. I mean, I think people should be putting bank deposits in banks on a matter of trust, not because they know the government's going to bail them out if they're cheated. And I believe that if a bank is in real trouble, people should go to jail and be punished for it.
Wow, you just used the word trust and we put politicians in the same sentence. John, I don't know if we can do that. I think we got to stop now.
Well, I mean, only just the other day when the Browne-Williams situation, people were saying, oh, well, of course, we don't accept journalists being dishonest, but politicians, of course, we accept dishonesty every day.
Always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk to you again real soon. They're called a girl's best friend, and you don't have to dig for them anymore. It's coming up next, right here on MidPoint.